So Joe Biden has officially announced that he's running for re-election, and Whoopi Goldberg and the rest of the hags over at The View don't understand why you and the Democrats are not excited.
Assume the position.
Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another? Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Let's get ready to rumble! You can't handle the truth.
Hey, I'm Pastor Marty, and this is the Afternoon Drive, and Fox News can't fire me from this gig. You know why? I don't work for them. But hey, while everybody's talking about Tucker Carlson and that story keeps changing, we all know this. At some point, Tucker will be back, and his ratings will bury Fox News. But until that happens, you've got me. Make sure you're a subscriber, smack the bell, click the word all to get notification of all of my rants. Sonny Holstein over at The View is upset that Joe Biden has announced his re-election, and immediately the GOP sprang into action with a fictitious ad about because of the re-election of Joe Biden, China feels emboldened to invade Taiwan. The U.S. military has to go in and close down the city of San Francisco because of out-of-control crime and the homeless meth addicts on the street and the wanton killing, etc., etc., etc. And she said, this is fear-mongering.
Is their strategy, hasn't it been?
Yeah,
It's been fear-mongering. It's been sort of pointing to the other. This is why your life is bad, because we have too many immigrants. This is why your life is bad, because black people commit too much crime. This is why your life is bad. It's always pointing the finger at other people. Right. And that is not a hopeful message. I'm sick of that message. I'm sick of the fear-mongering. I think it led to January 6th, and it led to the demise of our democracy. When you look at Joe Biden, he has so many accomplishments that he needs to put out there. I think he doesn't do a good enough job with that type of messaging.
Gentlemen, Ciccolini here may talk like an idiot and look like an idiot, but don't let that fool you. He really is an idiot.
Well, Sonny, nobody ever accused you of being smart. And you know what? It's a good thing, because really, you're not. In fact, I consider you just about as brain dead as that guy over at Secular Talk, Kyle Kulinski. You know, Kyle came out the other day and said, I don't understand why the MAGA audience is leaving Fox News over Tucker Carlson. Tucker doesn't even like Trump. You know, see, this is what happens when you're like a recovering crackhead like Kyle is. He's one of those typical young libs who, from the time he was in college, he didn't want to get a real job. He could read the headlines of the USA Today, and he started doing a video podcast. And I can still remember when he first started out, he was like 60 pounds soaking wet. He would wear suit jackets that were 2 sizes too big for him. Looked like he got them down at Goodwill. And, but he built his thing, his Secular Talk, and okay, got it. And he got himself engaged to Crystal Balls and over there at Breaking Points. And for a while, he's been sporting this really like yellow blonde hairdo that made him look like the rapper Eminem. He's finally gotten rid of that. He's back to his so-called natural color, but he hasn't got just like sideburns coming in, but it's like this weird facial hair that makes him look like Teen Wolf. And he's got 3 earrings. And when I see, in particular, a man start going through these types of real swings in their appearance, it usually means they're covering for something. I don't want to get too psychological on you here, because even though I am a pastor, I do have to counsel, so I have studied how these things work. But when a guy drastically changes his appearance, he's going through something, he's covering for something. And at some point, I'm hoping that Crystal Ball, although, she embarrassed herself more than once when she worked in actual cable television, asking the wrong questions, but that's whatever. She's got kids. She's a mom. You really want this dillweed being the father figure to your kids? Really? Because he's not smart. And he's going, yeah, Tucker hates you because of the text. That's what was revealed, that Tucker really hates Trump. Somebody can have a friend and get really mad at that friend and say something nasty to him. Tucker, just a couple of weeks ago, spent a few days at Mar-a-Lago with Donald Trump, gave a long, in-depth interview to Donald Trump. Donald Trump speaks well of Tucker Carlson, and Donald Trump does not speak well of people who don't like him. So, this is the brain trust that we're left with, unfortunately, oftentimes when it comes to the liberal side of the argument. And Sonny Holstein, you rank right up there with Kyle Kulinski as far as just being can you get behind the headline, Sweet Pea? Seriously. He should run on his record. That's exactly what Democrats are terrified he's going to do. I know you don't deal in reality. None of you hags over at The View do. But you do understand that for the rest of us, for working people who live on things like budgets and have to be conscious of what we're spending at the supermarket and what things cost, inflation is killing us, and it's going to get worse. They're manipulating things now because we're going into an election, but Biden can't run on his record. Trust me on this. I know you guys don't get it. He doesn't have a record. We have a border crisis, which you won't acknowledge. We have serious inflation. We have lost our stature in the world, and you can hate on Trump 24/7 because that's all you miserable hags over there do. But the honest truth is, we were respected in the world, and what's going on in Ukraine would have never happened had Trump been in the White House. Period. You haven't quite figured out that your boy Joe wants this thing going on in Ukraine. That he is establishment all the way, military-industrial complex all the way, and all of the grift he got from Ukraine. This is all payback for that, and he's using the American taxpayer to pump money into a black market war. I realize Whoopi and Joy Not a Babe Heart and Sonny Holstein, you haven't got the depth to grasp what's going on and how rotten things are. But let's take a look at Joe Biden's video that was so full of faith and optimism while the Republicans are just so negative and they fearmonger.
Freedom. Personal freedom is fundamental to who we are as Americans. The MAGA extremists are lining up to take on those bedrock freedoms. Cutting Social Security that you paid for your entire life while cutting taxes for the very wealthy. Dictating what health care decisions women can make. Banning books and telling people who they can love. All while making it more difficult for you to be able to vote. This is not a time to be complacent. That's why I'm running for re-election.
So that's Joe's positive message? That we, the conservatives, the MAGA people, are going to strip you of your rights and your freedoms? Who is it that's stripping us of rights and freedoms? Who is coming after everything from our Second Amendment rights to our First Amendment rights that want to censor us? Want to determine what we can say and can't say and where we can say it? They've even declared war on things like gas stoves. Going to outlaw gas cars in 5 years. We're going to tell you. Who is it that's authoritarian? Who is it that tells you you will get a jab whether you want it or not, and we won't tell you if there are any real side effects or any real problems, and if there are, shut up! Who is it that's stealing our freedoms? See, they're not even trying to persuade us of their arguments anymore. No, nay. They're just decreeing you will do these things. And by the way, That whole disingenuous gay LBGT, walk like a man even though you're a girl, or, be a girl even though you're a boy thing with the transgender movement that we're trying to tell people who you can love. That ain't it, dillweed. What two consenting adults do behind closed doors, it's their business. Don't bring it into my 4-year-old's preschool class. Don't bring it into the library for story time. I don't need 40-year-old men twerking over kids, waving their junk in their face, and trying to help them understand this is about freedom and expression. When an adult wants to talk to kids about really detailed adult and dirty things, that's preying and that's predatorial. When you have a 54-year-old man who wins a women's marathon and starts talking about girl power, you do now have even liberal women looking at each other like, this is getting out of hand. You think? You think? And this is all thanks to Joe Biden and the Biden administration. But Sonny Holstein and Whoopi Goldberg, they think it's wonderful.
Listen, the people who need to tout what Biden has done are the damn Democrats. Yeah.
You live here?
Yes.
Well, maybe you know what a zombie is.
When a person dies and is buried, it seems there's certain voodoo priests who have the power to bring him back to life.
Horrible.
It's worse than horrible because a zombie has no will of his own. You see them sometimes walking around blindly with dead eyes, following orders, not knowing what they do, not caring.
You mean like Democrats?
I'm going to tell you really why Joe Biden's running. He's waited his whole life for this. Listen, there's more than ample evidence, and his family have confided in people, and people knew even before he was elected the first time, wink, wink, that he has dementia, that there's mental cognitive problems there. But it was the hatred of Trump that drove everything in 2020. Biden has waited his whole life to do this. He has lied and grifted and lied, and he thought he did it so much better and smoother than Bill Clinton. Why can't he have his turn? And if he doesn't run, who's he going to turn things over to? Pete Buttigieg? Pete Buttigieg got literally the easiest gig in Washington, D.C., transportation secretary. And believe it or not, he has figured out how to screw that up, be inept, and nobody on the planet, even the most ardent, committed liberal, thinks that Pete Buttigieg has done a good job. People hate Camilla, think she's a hottie Harris, more than they hate Hillary Rotham Clinton. And I'm telling you, Biden is enough of a narcissist and enough self-absorbed in himself that he is not going to let the Ken doll from California, Gavin Newsom, have the job. Not going to do it. Biden's like, I waited my whole life for this and managed to claw into it, and I can't even really remember what it is I'm supposed to be doing, but I finally got it. And I'm sure not letting Joe Hollywood have the job now. So in a sense, Biden's narcissism is saving us from Newsom's insanity, who's still taking victory laps thinking he handled COVID better than any governor in America. And I'll tell you, the people who are trapped in the People's Republic of California might have a different story if they were allowed to tell you. But hey, after all, community service or terms of community service, they can't say anything. So the hags at the View are disappointed. You and I aren't appreciative of Joe Biden. Well, wah. What's the other word I'm looking for? Wah.